Hey everybody, it's Julie Malolo. I'm a life coach here in Manhattan. My website is yourdreamslifecoach.com, and I have another video about narcissism today, which again is not what I do in my coaching. This is just kind of a personal interest of mine that I've studied over the years, and I would like to share some tips that I've learned from real life and things that have been really helpful for me in avoiding and identifying toxic people. So, of course, you're supposed to have people diagnosed by a psychologist to, definitively say if they have a personality disorder. But in a practical way, if you want to avoid toxic people, you can obviously use common sense to do that. But common sense isn't as obvious as it might seem with these kinds of toxic people. So I'm going to talk about what things narcissists do when you first meet them and how you can possibly identify them. Now, of course, if you get to know someone and you think that they might be a narcissist and some flags go up and you continue to see their behavior over time, you will see if you're wrong, right? Like if they prove to you that they're trustworthy over time, then you might see like, okay, that flag popped up, but that may have been something else, and you can form that opinion. So everything I'm saying is really just alerting you to red flags, and then it's up to you to, use that information to make a good decision about if someone's trustworthy. My way of seeing it is that trust is earned. It's not automatic. You don't just automatically trust someone. You get to see what they're about. You get to learn what their behaviors are. And then over time, you can trust them or not trust them, depending on that. But for me, I'm very careful who I let into my life, and I think we all are, right? Like you have to be these days. And not just personal life, but business, your work, family, across the board. You want to be careful. So here are some things that you might not have thought about. So love bombing is something that's talked about a lot, in that narcissists will love bomb you, in that they'll sort of shower you with attention and affection. But it's important to remember it's not just a romantic thing. Anyone you meet might do this. So if you meet a new friend, or you meet a new coworker, or you have next door neighbors move in next door, what you'll notice is they're jumping stages. So they're addressing you and treating you in ways that normally would be in a different situation with someone that you've known a lot longer, someone that you have a different relationship with. And that's where the manipulation comes in. They're treating you as if you have a different relationship status than you actually do. So for example, you might meet someone and they immediately start calling you their best friend, or if they don't use the word best friend, they'll talk to you as if you really are best friends. And they'll start saying things that are just way over the top. Now, the reason that this flies under the radar is for a couple of reasons. We tend to think things are jokes that actually aren't jokes. And this is a way that toxic people get away with a lot of things, because all they have to say is, oh, I was just joking. I was just kidding. Didn't you realize that was a joke? And so we often, to ourselves, think, oh, that person can't be serious. They have to be joking. And we allow them to get away with it. And we just don't see it, because we just assume that must be a joke because that was such a crazy thing to say. So if you really want to see the flags, you have to stop deceiving yourself and assuming that everyone's normal and everyone's just like you. You have to start seeing reality and what's really there. So you might meet someone And okay, let's just say you're at a networking event and someone comes up and they say, wow, I could just tell that you were someone that I was really going to click with. I just knew right away we were going to be such great friends, and I can really tell that you are just such a sincere person, and you've spoken to this person for like 20 seconds. There's no way that they can know that about your character that quickly. But this is the trap that people can fall into, and anyone can really fall into this. If you're in a situation where you're either tired, you're confused, maybe you're going through some life stress, maybe your ego is not doing so well. And look, everyone has an ego, and ego isn't a bad thing. A toxic ego that personality disordered people have is something else, but healthy people have egos too, right? And so they can flatter your ego and make you think like, oh wow, they can really see my value, they can see these qualities. But you have to be realistic that no one can see those qualities that fast to the point that they would be gushing about it. I mean, look, we all pick up on each other's energy and traits, and you might even think to yourself, wow, this person seems really cool. But we don't tend to say it that quickly. We tend to wait a little while, build some trust, make sure we're right that that person actually is a trustworthy, cool person, and then as we get to know them better, we'll kind of open up and, say, hey, when I met you, I got a really good vibe, and that was confirmed. And now that we've been friends for a while, I just want you to know you are a really cool person, and that is like sincere. But they'll have that conversation that you would normally have way down the line in the first 2 minutes, and that's the sign of the toxic person. Now, again, this is a flag. It's not a definitive thing. There can be other things going on. So you don't want to lurch at labeling someone, but you want to file that away. Like, whoa, that was a red flag. And what you'll often see with toxic people is there won't just be one red flag. There will be a bunch. Like, they might do 15, 20 things in the first minute. And I'm not joking. Like, once you understand the flags, you can see it. But when you don't know the flags really well, which most people don't, it will just go over your head because you'll assume oh, they're kidding about that. That must have been a joke. Oh, they're just being polite. They're this, they're that, and the other thing. And you won't pick up on what is actually there. So, my main point is just that this can happen in any context. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be friend, coworker, networking event, business proposal. It can be, oh my gosh, I was looking at your website and it's the best website I've ever seen. I saw that and I immediately knew I have to work with this person, and that's why I'm contacting you. This kind of just over the top. And then when you look at it, there's not really much substance. Well, they didn't mention why is it the best. I mean, if you saw the best website you've ever seen, wouldn't you kind of mention why you thought it was the best? Maybe. Yeah, probably. So what you'll see is a lot of veneer and surface, but there's nothing under it. So online dating, you might get a message like, oh my gosh, you are just a goddess. You're an angel. Wow, can I call you my goddess? And then you're just like, whoa, this is a first message. So again, if you got that message 6 months into dating somebody, it would be moving. It would be like, wow, this is really based on something real, right? But when you get that as a first message, it's based on absolutely nothing. So that is the thing. They call it love bombing, but it can apply to anything. It's just, they're basically talking to you as if you're someone else, as if you're someone that they know deeply and have a different relationship status with. So they'll say things to you that they would say to their wife of 20 years or their husband of 20 years. They'll say things to you that they would say to their next door neighbor that has lived there for, their family has lived next door for 3 generations, and we trust each other with everything. And they'll speak to you like that when they just moved in yesterday. And this is part of the manipulation, because when someone speaks to you like that and treats you as if you're someone else, it's only human to kind of respond to that, right? Because we just kind of automatically respond to what other people do. So if a neighbor moves in next door to you and they've lived there for 5 minutes and they start treating you like, oh my gosh, it's just so wonderful to be neighbors with you. And it's so reassuring to know we have each other's backs. And maybe they give you a whole speech, the kind of speech you would give someone if you lived next door to them for 20 years or generations going back. And you would trust this person with your life. But they'll give you that speech because they want to benefit from that relationship status that they don't have with you. They're a brand new neighbor. They've lived there 5 minutes. They've earned nothing. They're entitled to nothing. But they want to fakely entitle themselves to things that they're not entitled to. Like your absolute trust. And, if there's any problem at their apartment, they want you to run over there and protect their home and lend them things from your wardrobe and help them in emergencies. And, they will expect that kind of treatment after 5 minutes. And it's not earned, it's not deserved, but that's the manipulation. Because as humans, we're reciprocal. So when someone does one thing, we tend to do the same thing back. And that's where the manipulation comes in. They'll treat you like you've known each other forever, even though you haven't. And they will say things referring to this relationship you don't have. But if you're not on the lookout for this, you can really get sucked in, because if someone comes and they knock on your door and they're like, oh, I'm the neighbor next door, nice to meet you, you're probably going to be like, oh, this person's being friendly. Oh, great. I want to know my neighbors. That's cool. This is not, oh, they're such a nice person. Okay, I'll go along with this. And then right away it's, oh, I just feel the sense of trust with you. I really would trust you to pick up my packages for me, even if I'm not home and the mailman's there. I trust you with that. And then you're sort of like, wait, this person seems to be jumping ahead, like as if we've been friends for a while, and now they're expecting me to get their packages for them. What? And then they're gonna just keep rolling with that, and the compliments and the fake relationship status that's very flattering, will make you feel good, is going to be mixed up with this toxic manipulation of all the things they want from you. And not just want, it's not a request, it's an expectation, it's an entitlement, it's a demand, it's an assumption that, well, we're such great neighbors, and I can just tell you're one of those neighborly people that would definitely watch out, when my kids get home from school early and I'm still at work. You're that kind of person I know will just take them right inside and give them some cookies and watch them for 6 or 7 hours until I get home. I know that you're that kind of person, and I just want to thank you for being that kind of person. And you're like, wait a second, I just met you. You're expecting me to watch your child and give you free childcare for 7 hours a night? Wait, and what? You don't watch your child? You just leave your kids alone in your home for 7 hours a day? Like, wait a second, what's going on here? And they might not be as blatant. They might not come out with what they want immediately, but they'll start hinting. They'll start saying things like, I can just tell you're someone who's really good with kids, and that's great because, I have 5 kids, and I just feel like they would really love you, and I'm just glad that you're next door, just in case they ever have any emergencies. And this is the kind of thing that you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course, emergencies, right? I would help with that. But then emergencies becomes just all the time, and they expect free childcare. So this is the kind of thing to watch out for. And whether it's not just romantic, it can be a coworker. It can be, oh, welcome to the team. Oh, wow, I could just really tell you're really on the ball. You're really smart. And I just think you're going to fit in here so well. And I just feel like I've known you forever. Like, my other coworker left and I was so sad. And it's just like fate that you showed up, because my other coworker, we'd go to lunch and we were just like best friends, and like we just had each other's back on everything. Any kind of work drama or, last minute emergency project, we just had each other's back. And at this point, you might be flattered, like, oh wow, this person like thinks I'm a good fit and they think I'm smart. And when you're in a vulnerable position like that, whether you're in a new job or whatever it is, you want that reassurance. You want someone to be friends with and all those things. But you see the way they're rushing it and the manipulation and the assumptions. So then you quickly jump from the compliment to the entitlement and the demand. It will happen real quick. So in the example I just gave, see how the person compliments your work, says, oh, compliment, you seem smart. Oh, and I expect you to have my back in every work emergency. I expect you to listen to all my work drama. I expect you to be there for me in any emergency. And they're expecting this of you. You don't even know them. So you'll probably get some kind of weird feeling at that point, and just like an uncomfortable, like, oh, wow, that's a lot. Okay. But it's easy to ignore that, because then they'll often switch back to, yeah, I'm just so glad you're working here, and I can just tell. That we'll do this kind of thing a lot, where they can just tell that you're perfect. They can just tell that you're amazing based on nothing, or based on some small superficial thing. Like, oh, when I saw your shoes, I just knew this was the kind of person for me. Like something really stupid and superficial. Or, oh, wow, you have the same kind of pen that I have. You have really good taste in pens. I can just tell that we're going to be like this. And the next thing you know, bam, they have a bunch of things that they want from you. So what do you do in this situation? For one, you don't want to jump to conclusions, because perhaps you have a non-toxic person who for some reason is just acting 100% toxic, which in my experience usually isn't the case. But, you can wait and see, right? Because being healthy is all about waiting and seeing. It's not about jumping in and assuming and getting entangled in these kinds of manipulations. So what you can do with people like this is put the brakes on immediately. When people are making those assumptions, you put the brake on, even if it's a little socially awkward. Because the thing is, someone who's not toxic, as long as you're respectful and polite, they're not going to get offended if you're putting the brakes on. They're going to be respectful and understanding. Because emotionally healthy people are respectful and understanding and somewhat patient. But toxic people are impatient, demanding, and really can't take no for an answer. They tend to rage and explode when they're told no. So just to give you some examples of what you could do in the scenarios I just mentioned, let's say you have this neighbor move in and they're all neighborly and and you can be all, it's great that you moved in, and I can just tell that you're someone that would be so great. You can say something like, oh really, I wonder how you can tell that so quickly. And you're not insulting them or anything. You're just curious. And they usually won't have an answer for that, because they really don't have a reason for it. Their reason for it is they're trying to manipulate you and hoping that you'll have your ego boosted by their fake compliments, right? So just, I wonder how you can tell that I'm trustworthy. And you could even say something like, gosh, I hope you're careful about who you trust, because, we've only just met. So I don't know if you want to trust me with your emergencies when, you really don't know me that well yet. And you can be nice and polite about it, but you're basically just reminding them of reality and making it clear you're not going to be swept along in this wave of manipulation that they're hoping to carry you off in. And if they start saying, oh, I can tell that, my kids would like you, and I can tell that you're not one of those terrible people who ignore children. You're the kind who would give them a cookie. And so it's easy to get swept along with that kind of manipulation I just said, because they're painting you as you're a good person, not a bad, horrible person. So they're actually using shame to try to manipulate you in this example. You don't have to get swept along with it. All you have to do is say something that makes it clear that you're not agreeing with what they've just demanded. So you might say something like, oh, well, I think it really depends on the situation for me. That's a really neutral thing to say, but all you're doing is saying, I'm not just going along with whatever you're signing me up for under the pretense of I'm a nice person. Or you could say oh, I think it's good to always treat kids with respect. But yeah, it really depends on what the situation would be, depending on what I would be willing to do to help. But, and then say something positive. But hey, it was great meeting you. And that's the thing. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to even use the word no. You don't have to say, no, I want, because, when you, and I mean, you can say no, but just when I see these things and they're just like, oh, just use the word no, you don't have to give an explanation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, in theory, you can do that, but in reality, if you're dealing with toxic people who hate hearing the word no, they overreact to everything. So when you set a boundary like that, even without using the word no, they hear that 10 times louder than you even said it, because they are so sensitive to rejection. They're so sensitive to you not going along with them that they will immediately notice that you're saying no. So, and now with a healthy person, you can say no all you want. They're not really going to care. They're not going to get angry about it. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Your healthy neighbor comes over, they're going to make clear requests. They're going to say, excuse me, I'm looking for a cup of sugar. I'm trying to find a neighbor who would be willing to give me a cup of sugar because I'm baking cake and I ran out. And I'm just wondering if you would be willing to give me a cup of sugar or not. And you notice how that's a request and nothing's hidden. It's all out there in your face, what they want. That's healthy. And then if you say, nope, sorry, they'll say, oh, that's fine. Okay. They won't get mad about that. That's healthy. You could say, no, 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 no. No. No sugar. Okay, that's fine. They're not going to get mad. Toxic person, all you have to do is say, sugar, and they're already going to be starting to get angry, because that's just how they are. They're hypersensitive to people not being swept along in that wave of manipulation like they want to sweep people along in. Okay, so what was I even talking about again? Oh, I was giving you tips on how to deal with it. So you want to set your boundary, but in a neutral, polite, friendly way, where you're just reminding them that you're not going along with this. And that's really a hard thing to do for most people, because they get caught up in that false dichotomy. Like, this person told me, oh, you're not one of those horrible people, you're one of those nice people, and so I know you're going to do this for me. And so people feel like, well, oh, I don't want to be horrible, so I have to do whatever they ask of me, or else they're going to think I'm horrible. You don't have to. There's a third option, which is just go back to reality and remind them kindly that they're living on planet Earth, which is as simple as saying, if they come over and they want to put you down as their emergency contact and have you bake cupcakes for their kid's soccer team tomorrow, and you're like, I've met you 30 seconds ago. All you have to do is say, oh, it was so good meeting you. Wow, that's a lot of new stuff for me. I'm not really one to do stuff like that. That's a way you could say it. That's a way to say no, Or, oh, maybe there's someone else you could ask. That's a way to say no. You can be really nice about it. And if they persist, you can get more clear. If you feel threatened or whatever, I'm all for using fewer words when you really, like, if you're looking at a potentially violent situation. For me personally, I use words just like no, leave, close the door. But if you're not in that kind of situation, you don't feel threatened, you just don't want to be manipulated, that's the way. They're trying to carry you away in this wave of lies, and you just mention some little truths to anchor yourself to that truth again. So, oh, we're neighbors, and oh, we're neighborly, and so you're going to, give me $50,000 because that's just what nice people do, and that'd be mean of you not to give me $50,000 even though I've known you for 20 seconds. But I know that I can just tell you're nice and you're going to do it. All you have to do is stop, and you can ask them a question, you can make a statement, but all you are establishing is I'm not being swept away in that wave. So you could ask a question like, oh, why do you need $50,000? And that will wake them up. Oh wait, I thought I was carrying you away in this wave, and now you're asking questions. Wait, what? Or you can just make a statement. Oh, it seems like you really need money from someone right now. That's a way to just be like, hey, this is reality. I'm not getting swept away in your wave. Or you can say something like, oh gosh, it's really nice to meet you. I don't usually talk to my neighbors that much, but maybe you can find someone else. Or, you can really say anything. The point is, you want to be neutral. You don't need to be rude. You don't need to manipulate them back. You don't need to use any kind of evil anything. You want to keep what you're doing just neutral and not non-harmful. You don't need to be mean to them either. You just need to make it clear you're not getting swept away. So same thing if you're, for example, let's say someone is dating you and this happens to guys too. Women do this to men. They're toxic women. This is not just a guy thing. So a girl might say to a guy like, oh my gosh, you just seem like Prince Charming. I bet there are so many girls that are just like, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. He's just perfect. And a lot of guys will eat this up because, again, we all have an ego. Even healthy people have an ego. And if he's feeling a little insecure, he might really want to see himself like that and think, oh wow, this person thinks I'm great. And the same thing happens to women where they just lay it on a little bit too thick. They'll say things that are a little bit too serious. Again, the relationship status isn't at that point yet, and they're trying to catch you up in this wave of like, oh, let's just pretend we've been married 15 years and, you're so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then very quickly comes the request, and you might not even realize it's a request because they have this entitled sort of feeling about it. It's not really a request, it's a demand. So, oh, you're so amazing, I can tell that you're someone who has really good taste in bars. So when we go out, you can pick the place. That will be the kind of thing. It's like, wait, hold on. We haven't been talking for a while. We haven't been discussing going out. We've known each other for 15 seconds. Why are you even talking about going out on a date? You don't even know what my name is, and you're asking me to pick the wine bar? What? And see, this is how the manipulation works. If your ego is flattered, you might not stop and think about that. You might just be like, oh, wow, well, of course they want to go on a date because they think I'm perfect, right? So this is so flattering. And yeah, okay. I'll pick the place, and then you just wind up in a situation you probably really don't want to be in. So again, same thing, you can set the boundary and you can do it in a nice neutral way. Like, oh wow, that's really nice of you to say that. Um, how did you come to that conclusion? Because we've only been talking for 15 seconds. I'm just curious how you judge people's character like that. And if you ask a question like that, they're not going to have an answer because they don't judge people's character. They judge, oh, this looks like a human being, and that's all I need to try to take from them. They see a blob of human, and then they think, oh, maybe I can get something out of this. Which is not to say that you don't have amazing, valuable things about you. But the thing about toxic people is they're really not attracted to certain personality types or empaths or, oh, I'm being targeted because I'm an empath. No, they go to anyone. They're like a cockroach. Anywhere that there's a crumb or a scrap or they think there might be, they go there. And they're either going to find a source of food or water or they're not. And if they get a neutral response and they don't get that crumb, they're less likely to want to return, and they're only going to return if they can't find anything else anywhere else. So that's the thing. It's really not about you, and I think sometimes that ego can hold people back. People that, are victims of toxic people, they can really take it to heart too much. And on the flip side, sometimes they can beat themselves up and think, oh, I really don't have any good qualities, and they only targeted me because they use everyone. And that's not true. You do have good qualities. You do have amazing things about you. But this is a cockroach, and they're just looking for a crumb that has nothing to do with you. So you really have to separate the two things out. You're not being targeted, and you're not being not targeted. You're just there. They're a cockroach who wants a crumb. So that's what you can do to slow down the romantic kind of person that, oh my gosh, you're just, I could just tell within the first 10 seconds that you are my soulmate. And this is the real manipulation, is that sometimes you can tell really quickly that someone's your soulmate. Like, it's extremely rare. But usually when that happens, you don't comment on it right away. You wait to see if it plays out. And if it really happens that way, then you'll talk about it later on once you have an established relationship. So that's a big clue right there. They're jumping ahead. They're assigning a relationship status that is not appropriate for your situation. So you can slow that down and say, oh, thank you so much for the compliment, but yeah, I don't see why you would call me your goddess when we don't even know each other. And you don't know what my name is. And so when you do this, you're putting the brakes on, you're making it clear you're not getting swept away in the wave. And that is not fun for a toxic person. They don't enjoy that. That's not the kind of challenge that they like. Because you're not giving them a challenge where you're saying, hey, I'm playing this game with you. You're giving them a challenge where you're saying, hey, I'm not playing this game with you. That's not fun. So what you'll see if you do things like this, you say things like this, you're putting a boundary down. Toxic people are not going to find you fun. They're not going to find you interesting. And you're a dry well. They're a roach who's not getting their crumb. They're not giving you crumb out. So they're going to probably lose interest unless they have no other crumbs. And if they keep coming back, you can ignore them or you can be more clear. But in my experience, when you just don't give them what they want, again, by setting a boundary, they're going to go somewhere else because they know it's not going to work. So if they're like, oh my gosh, I just saw you and I was like, there's my soulmate. And you're like, wow, how would you possibly know that so soon? I'm just curious how you came to that conclusion. That's not fun for them. That's not a good time. That's not and yes, they do like challenges. Toxic people like ego challenges. So they would like it if you said to them, Um, oh, really? Well, how do I know that you're my soulmate back, huh? They would like that kind of challenge because then you're giving them an opportunity to brag and they can say, oh, well, because I'm such a special person that I just know that you're gonna just love me, blah, blah, blah. They would enjoy that because that's on a ego level, it's a shallow level. So when I said, well, what criteria are you using to determine who's your soulmate? This is why it's like ick to them because I'm going deep. I'm not staying shallow. So they enjoy the shallow ego game. They don't like deep questions because they really can't answer them. They don't have an answer for that. So it makes them super uncomfortable. And then they realize, like, ooh, if I talk to this person, they're going to make everything like this. And I don't want that. Now, a healthy person would probably never say something like that to you. They wouldn't skip ahead to a stage that they weren't at. And if they did, for some weird reason, for whatever reason, if you put the boundary up, they would wake up and be like, oh, whoa, yeah, we're not there. And they would probably apologize or they would explain themselves and they would have a reason for it. Okay? And it would be a deeper reason than something like, oh, well, you looked pretty, so I thought maybe you were my soulmate or something. Or you seemed like a nice guy, so you just seemed like all the women would like you or something. You know, they won't be able to explain themselves. So your defenses against toxic people are reality. And of course, being kind and respectful yourself. You don't need to be toxic back at all to protect yourself, and simply refusing to get swept up in their game. So sticking your feet in reality. Reality is boring for toxic people. So you will repel them simply by keeping things in reality, keeping things grounded, and keeping things deep, right? So instead of superficial stuff like, oh my gosh, I just love your shoes and I can just tell you're my soulmate because you have nice eyelashes. They eat that stuff up. That's where they live. They live on that shallow surface. So if you go deeper and you live in reality, that's not fun for them. And you stay at the stage you're at. You know, like, oh, well, we've only just met. So I really don't know anything about you. So I really can't say if you're my soulmate. That's not going to feel good to them. That's not fun for them. Now, a healthy person's going to understand that and be on the same page. Like, yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, how would you know that? I mean, that would be weird. So, anyway, these are some things you can try. You know, staying in reality. If they try to put it on the surface, take it deeper and ask some deeper questions. You know, if someone says, oh, I would love to work at your company because I know it's just the perfect company for me. Okay, so they're trying to sweep you along, and you're like, well, how do you know that? How do you know it's the perfect company for you? Just, you know, it seems nice. So that'd be an example of a potential employee being toxic and trying to sweep you along on a journey and reminding them of reality, and I'm not going to be swept along, and let me see what's actually here. So this is so repelling to them, and it's neutral. It doesn't make them mad because you're not triggering their ego. You're just not fun. This is not fun for them. So those are some things you can look out for toxic people beyond just romantic, in work or in business or in next door neighbors or friends or anything. When you get that advancing stages past where you're at, when you get the expectation that you're going to help them in the ways that they want, combined with the manipulation of using shame to basically manipulate you into, I know that you're amazing. You're not one of these terrible people. You're better than everyone, and that's why I know that you're going to do X, Y, Z for me. So it's not pretty, and it makes you feel really uncomfortable when someone treats you this way because, like, the compliment feels really good, But then the manipulation feels just icky. You just feel like, wait, what did I just agree to when I said thank you for the compliment? And now you're signing me up for what? I have to bake how many cupcakes? I have to donate to 10 charities? I don't even know you. Like who are you? Why are you in my office right now? Right? Like, so remember, just state something that takes them back to reality. And you can use this for anything. It doesn't have to be rude. When I think back to some of those awkward situations, like at work, when someone does come around with the charity thing and they do the same thing, they use shame, right? So they put you in this category of good or evil person, and they'll follow the same script. I'm not saying that every person is toxic that does this. It just seems like they tend to be, don't they? The people that have these like things they're trying to get you to sign up for, they'll come by and be like, oh, hey, and this is someone you've met like once for 5 seconds. Yeah, I was meaning to come by and chat more because you're so great and blah, blah, blah. And, I just know that you're really someone who I know is concerned about like the earth, not like these people who just want to destroy all the animals and just string them up and shoot them all down. You're not one of those people. And so I have this thing for you to fill out because I know that you're the kind of person who would blah, 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 right? Because, yeah, here, I'll just go ahead and put your name on here and you can just, check, was it 1,000? Yeah, we'll just put you down for 1,000. All you have to do, you don't have to choose between, oh, no, I'm someone who hates animals. You judged me wrong. You don't have to put yourself in that. You can just say, oh, wait, hold on, what is this for? Again, instead of getting swept with the wave, just back to reality. What is this for? I'm sorry, what was your name again? Have we met? Oh, what department do you work in? Okay, because I don't think we've met before. See, all of these things that I'm saying, they're not rude. They just bring it back to I'm commenting on reality. You're commenting on as if we had been friends for 20 years and we were in the same environmental club and maybe we had a nonprofit together and you would just assume I'm going to sign this check, but that's not the situation. Like, I don't even know if I know who you are. What was your name? And then at that point, if they really want you to donate, you can say whatever, but it should just be something true that's based on reality. Like something like, oh, thank you for, asking me, but I already have my charities all figured out for the year, but thanks. That's all you have to say. You don't have to put yourself in that shameful role of, oh, I'm the animal hater because I didn't give 1,000. So you don't have to succumb to that. You can stick to your own reality and make that reality known and clear. You can use this for anything, and it makes you super boring because you're not fun. You're not willing to be swept along with their wave of manipulation. You're gonna swim out of that riptide and just tread water in reality and wait for that wave to pass on by, and that's not fun for them. So I hope that was interesting, guys. Like I said, my name is Julie Malillo. I'm a life coach in Manhattan. I don't coach on the topic of narcissism. I only work with emotionally healthy clients, and we work together on achieving goals faster, basically, and figuring out what you want and then taking action every week so that you get that faster. So if you're interested in coaching, you can go to my site, which is yourdreamslifecoach.com, fill out the contact form with what goals you have that you want to work on, and then I will send you back rates. So make sure you put your email address in. Otherwise, I don't know where to send it. But like I said, I only work with emotionally healthy people, so I don't do therapy and counseling or trauma or anything like that. Narcissism is just kind of an interesting topic that I have studied for a long time because I think it is something that we all deal with on a daily basis, even though sometimes you don't realize that you're dealing with it. So that's why I'm doing some of these videos, just to give you some tips on how to handle that, because it really is an epidemic. It's everywhere. It's in every profession. And having some tips on how to handle that is not a bad thing. So I hope this was helpful, and like, subscribe, comment if you've had experiences with people like this, and comment on what some of your experiences have been. And of course, this is just my way of handling it. You don't have to handle it this way, but it's just something that I found to be helpful. So I'm curious to know how you've dealt with toxic people in your life, and what things have worked well for you. Thanks for watching, guys.